Hey everyone, this is a clip from the regular exclusive podcast. If you like what you hear, then subscribe for more and find our podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Okay, so The Black Phone is the newest movie by the same duo of Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill. They both also co-wrote this movie, and Scott Derrickson directed. And it's based on a short story by Joe Hill, who is a great writer and is also Stephen King's son. The basic overview of the movie is a teenage boy is abducted by a child killer and locked in a soundproof basement, where he starts to receive calls on a disconnected phone from the killer's previous victims. And it's that like they are trying to help him escape with all these different methods that he can try. And it's really like majority of the movie is literally just this kid in the basement trying to get out of there. And it really is crazy how much, I mean, they do have some other stuff. They did like expand the short story, but it all fits really, really well. And they keep the pace up very well for it being like a majority of these two people in a room, or one kid even by himself with like some other ghostly shit.
Yeah, I want to talk about the kid because he's awesome in this. But one thing real quick, I feel like the world just wanted to see this director, this screenwriter, and Ethan Hawke back together again.
100%.
Because this movie came out 10 years after Sinister.
Yep.
And they got a budget 6 times bigger than Sinister. It did $23 million in its opening weekend. And then worldwide, this came out just like a little over a month ago. And it's done, over 131 million worldwide so far. So like it's already outperformed Sinister. Like,
oh yeah,
the world just like wanted this.
This is like a great movie. It's not from a franchise either, so it's not a reboot or a remake. It's a new story that people haven't seen adapted before, and Joe Hill stories have been adapted, but this is definitely the top tier of them. Like, this is like whetting the appetite. I feel like more people, we want more Joe Hill now. And I mean, these three together, like combine it all, add in Ethan Hawke. I mean, it's just a dynamic like group, and I'm here for it. I think it's cool too that Ethan Hawke is playing a villain in this versus, him playing more of the hero in the last story, kind of like not necessarily the perfect man, but he's basically the main character, right? But in this movie, like, you're definitely not rooting for him. You're like, fuck this guy, right?
Yeah, this is not a performance that I expected from Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
He's so good in it. I mean, and also the fact that he's wearing a mask the whole movie. It's really hard to act with that.
There's just so much expression, and his mask also like changes shape and covers different parts of his face.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like he has to be able to utilize every part of his face that's showing at any given time. There's just something about him. He's giving off this energy the whole time, no matter what. This is a villain I can get behind.
Well, and while we're talking about masks, so this movie, he was amazing wearing a mask. He was so good. Like, there was never at any point where I'm like, man, I wish I could see his face so that I could get a better idea of the character. Like, I never felt like that.
Yeah, you don't need it.
And it made me think about some other great performances with wearing masks. So I made a list for you.
Perfect.
So first one is, I might not pronounce all these right. Hugh Keys Byrne. He is the bad guy in Mad Max Fury Road. Then you also have Jackie Earle Haley from Watchmen. He was Rorschach. You got to throw in James Earl Jones and Darth Vader.
I mean, it's not even him in the outfit, but yeah.
Well, there is someone else that falls into that category. But then also Tom Hardy as Bane.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
It's interesting. I feel like there's some obvious ones you haven't listed yet, so I'm curious where you're going with it.
Oh, here's my number one. Actually, hold on. Honorary mention. Lee Byung-hun, the frontman, Squid Game. But the King of Kings, Mr. Hugo Weaving, V for Vendetta.
Okay, no. I mean, yeah, good performance, for sure.
Who is but the form following the function of what? And what I am is a man in a mask.
He's like James Earl Jones. He just did the voice.
But then it doesn't count.
It does count because I think Hugo Weaving should retroactively win the Best Actor Oscar for that year because he's incredible in V for Vendetta.
He's incredible voice acting. That's sure. He can win Best Voiceover. But I'm talking about like...
Okay, hold on. Before you give this list, if you give me a bunch of people that are only masked for a portion of a movie,
to do that.
Or if you can see their mouth, I'm going to discredit your entire thing.
Okay, but you can also see Ethan Hawke's like throughout this movie. You see his mouth. He sometimes wears the top mask and then nothing on the bottom.
No.
You know, he switches it up.
You never see his mouth until his mask gets ripped off for that second.
No, he also wears like just the top with the bottom at the very end, like when he shows up and kills his brother. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Anyway,
I feel like you're going to give me a list of people wearing headdresses.
Okay, I don't know what you're thinking for me. I think I can handle this. I said Jason first off as a character.
Doesn't talk.
Doesn't matter. It's still a fucking terrifying performance.
Acting,
I'm going to say Jason from the Friday the 13th.
You're going to list off every horror movie known to man right now, aren't you?
Also,
let me guess, Mike Myers?
It's not Mike Myers.
Yeah,
That's,
what a captivating...
That's Austin Powers.
Acting.
Okay, watch Halloween Kills and tell me you don't love the guy who's playing Michael Myers in that movie.
Riveting dialogue.
Okay, it's not dialogue. But again, sure, some of these people had to act, whatever. But like some of them were like just voiceover. I don't think that counts.
You're saying that some of these people had to act, but Michael Myers...
Stop calling him Mike Myers. He's not Austin Powers.
We're on a very casual basis. I call him Mike.
He's just a very creepy villain. He has a very specific presence, and it's not always great in every movie, but that's why I'm calling out the new Halloween movies. He has... Okay, watch either of... Have you even watched the new Halloweens? Either of them? Okay, thank you. So I don't think you could really say.
I can say, does he have a single line?
He doesn't have to. He does a lot with his body. No, he doesn't. There was no rules of if they had a speaking line. I think the rule was if they show their face or their mouth. No. That was the rule. Okay, fine. My final one then.
Stunt people are not actors. They're stunt people. They're incredible.
The guy who was a stuntman who played the Night King, he ended up like really having to act in that role and doing a lot with it.
Yeah, he had to show his face.
Okay, well, anyways, my final submission for this category, I think you'll agree, is going to be John Carroll Lynch in American Horror Story Freak Show as Twisty the Clown, because he wears that freaky-ass mask with that giant smile across his face, and he is just a great performer in general. I love him and everything, and he's very terrifying as that clown.
I'm a good clown.
He has a very similar, like, you haven't seen that? Oh my God. Well, it just reminded me why I fucking hate clowns. So
I gave up on American Horror Story after the 3rd season.
Oh, well, I mean, honestly, I'm still with it. I'll watch it no matter what. But there is something to like the clown mask and the mask worn by Ethan Hawke and all of its variations in this movie. Literally perfect. It's the best mask I've ever seen. To me, this is like the most terrifying mask I could look at.
I agree. It is terrifying. My list was not the most terrifying mask. It was actors who have to perform with a mask that covers majority of their face.
I got
At least the mouth.
What about motion capture when it covers all their face? It's just, visual effects covering, not a mask, but similar, right?
Are you saying that like if visual effects recreate your mouth with CGI?
Does that count?
No, because it's not covering their mouth.
I just want to extend this category and make you mad about like all these weird submissions. But
you have achieved it. I did research for this and I was like, you know what? She's going to get it. I'm not going to lay out all the criteria. She's going to get what I'm trying to say. And I'm sorry that I was wrong. You just had to ruin it.
Well, I'm sorry. I just feel like there should be more villains from horror movies.
I would put Jason in the list of most terrifying masks, but that was not my list.
Okay, whatever. Maybe I was unclear on the rules. We can all agree that Ethan Hawke's the best out of anybody on this list, right?
I would disagree. I would put him on the A tier with Hugo Weaving.
Okay, I get it. I'm willing to accept that.
I was trying to have us like have a shared like, oh yeah, this is amazing, but no, you're like you disrespected Jason and Michael. All right. Anyway, this is amazing. I do love how they changed the mask throughout. It's like the different masks are, his different emotions. Mm-hmm. And it helped the adoption of like, this guy is insane. and he's going more insane.
I was really starting to like you, Finny. I almost let you go.
And then they use the children to explain that you have to play the game, and that's why he's getting mad. And let's talk about the kid. I was curious, like anytime I go into like a supernatural kind of movie, I was curious, like, how are they going to do it? Are they going to explain it? Is it going to be believable? Is it going to make sense? And I didn't have any thought of like, how does this work? How does this black phone work? Like, it's a disconnected phone, and yeah, all these kids were murdered here. And so it's like their spirits are haunting this place, and they want to save other kids, and so they're helping. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think, like Stephen King and Joe Hill especially, like they're just so good at getting you into a scenario or a setting and characters, and like I recognize that this all feels real to me, like the whole world that they show you and build up, and then they introduce some like supernatural element or some like otherworldly thing. And because you're already invested in already like relating to everything, you're like, like you're willing to accept things normally you might have questions about.
And also, they don't overdo it.
Yeah.
They don't overdo the supernatural.
It's just one aspect, but it's important. He also has the strength within himself to do what needs to be done.
This is also a really unique movie in that the ghosts are not the bad guys.
Yeah.
This is like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah, but like terrifying.
Well, like Ethan Hawke is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, because they're dead. They look like are naturally. It's not like they all look like Casper. I just want to get that out there.
But they're friendly to him.
They're friendly to him for sure. But like they look like they're here to kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm like, yeah, I'd see those kids. I'd kind of be freaked out. Like, are you going to kill me or are you going to help me? I don't know.
Well, like here, maybe you can think of some other movies that would fall into this category where the ghosts are not the bad guys. So this Casper Ghost.
Yep, that's a good one. Great one. I do have another one. Do you have any more?
Those are the three. This is top of my head. I didn't prepare this. I'm just curious.
Cool. I just know the other with Nicole Kidman, where the twist at the end. Spoiler alert! It's been out forever.
15 years old.
People still freak out about that. I'm just like, get with the times. Okay, but yeah, they end up being like, it's like they think they're haunted the entire movie, but then it turns out that they're the ghosts.
Yeah,
and the other people are the ones doing the seance to try and get them out.
Yeah,
what a great twist! And it's one of those rare movies. Yeah, where like the supernatural stuff isn't always creepy. But yeah, like sometimes when they use evil kid ghosts, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm here. I get it. They're freaky as fuck. There's only a few I can think of where that's the case and the ghosts are like here to help.
It's harder to write that story. Like, let's have a ghost, but let's have it not be the bad guy.
I mean, I feel like that's like an underused concept.
Yeah. The other thing that I really liked was how the ghosts didn't remember who they were.
I don't remember my name.
Why not?
It's the first thing you lose.
The main kid, he was telling us who these kids were. So it wasn't like this exposition dump or flashbacks or anything.
Like he was
it was
recognizing them.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, you were the kid that did this and then you died. And I thought that was just a really good way to actually like have characters interact with each other rather than just like, this is who I am. And here's everything you need to know about me. Like,
I know they have to get you that information, but it's nice when they do it in a way that doesn't take you out of the moment.
There's no fat in this movie.
No, it's like very lean and mean. And like one of the things that I've noticed like with Stephen King movies and probably as they adapt more of Joe Hill stuff, but their stories are so great, but it's like their longer novels don't necessarily make great movies because you have to cut so much out of it. They could be better for like TV if you did like multiple seasons versus a short story is excellent. Like you said, lean and mean. Great story, and then you can expand upon that. Sometimes that goes wrong and you expand upon it in a terrible way, or you can expand upon it like this where it feels very I was gonna say supernatural, but very natural to the original story, which is basically everything that you see in the movie minus a few things. I do remember that like it starts with the kid already in the basement. Yeah, and then there's also like the twist with the brother at the end. He comes down and then the killer still kills him.
That was a good twist. I didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe because I read the story, but I also was like, once he said, I'm staying with my brother, and then like the dog, you heard the dog barking in a couple scenes with him and with Ethan Hawke, and you're like, I was like, oh, yeah.
I think the reason I didn't see it coming or I wasn't looking for it was just like, that would be so weird. Like, he's wearing the mask all the time. It's like, if you had someone in the house, like, wouldn't they see it? But like, yeah, he's just in town. He doesn't live there. So I guess like theoretically,
yeah.
you could
and
hide.
I mean, he is doing like a ton of cocaine.
Yeah,
But I
that's
do
true.
love that he's like trying to solve the mystery.
Reading about this case a lot, and I'm in between jobs right now, and you guys could really use my help on.
One day I want to ask Joe Hill, like how does Ethan Hawke or the killer's character act normal, right?
Mhm.
Like, how is he without the mask with his brother? Like, from everything that we can gather, he's a freak of
Yeah.
nature. If I saw that guy or talked to him, I feel like, unless he's a totally different person,
Yeah.
it's interesting that they don't let us see any of that. So it kind of, I mean, obviously it's a big reveal at the end, but it's interesting to think about, like, how would he not know?
It, like, thinking back on it, I'm really glad they didn't have that be a part of the story. The story's about the children. And like, if we filled that backstory, it just adds to that character. If you're going to add to that character, then you're going to take something away from another story. So like, I was blown away by the two kids, the son and the
Siblings?
daughter. Yeah, the
Yeah.
siblings. They were so good. And like, it is hard to have a movie be driven by children.
Oh yeah, like depending on who you get, it like makes or breaks the movie, honestly. Get these kids really fucking made this movie.
Yeah, and like, you can mask bad acting if you have a movie where they are interacting with a lot of people, like, grown actors who, like, I can kind of cover this up with really good act.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of this was just him in that room by himself and then talking to the phone. And then she was really good. I would be curious if her storyline is not part of the short story, because that's a great addition by the writing team of like having these two stories parallel to each other, like him trying to get out, her trying to find him, and then having this little, she's like a medium, right? That's kind of her thing.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I still think of a lot of things just in Stephen King like world. So I'm like, it's like she has the shine, right? Like she's got the shine, like the kid from The Shining. That's what I'm assuming. So she has some sort of like premonition kind of dream.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember. I'm trying to look it up to see if it's in the story, but yeah, I feel like there might have been like a small part of the story that had that, but I don't remember. If they did add that, it's like genius. It really just fit everything.
Mm-hmm. It was really good.
Yeah. I do have something to say about the dad.
Lay it down.
First off, the dad just sucks. And
He's the worst.
I feel like a few things. His hair gets worse every time we see him. I don't know how, but it just gets uglier and uglier, like more unattractive. I mean, it's already bad, but it progressively gets worse.
I don't think that actor has ever had good hair in a movie.
I don't even know who that is.
I've seen him. He's one of like those guys. Like if we looked at his IMDb, he would be like, "Oh, I've seen a lot of these movies." But like, I don't remember his name. Let me look it up. Jeremy Davis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like I know his name.
Oh, I know him because he was in Arrow.
Okay, that makes sense then. Because I hadn't seen him, but I just felt like his hair was like awful to begin with. Also, like obviously he sucks. I mean, he's like beating the kids, and that scene where he beats the daughter is like so upsetting.
Just to be clear, the character is awful. He doesn't suck as an actor.
Sorry, not the actor. Yeah,
Yeah.
No. I wasn't meaning that.
Yeah.
I just mean like I'm talking about the dad.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No. And this might be controversial, but like, don't you kind of feel like the grabber treats him better than his own dad?
It's a hot take.
I mean, it is. And I'm not saying like, obviously, the grabber had horrific plans, but he doesn't get to do that.
Is this a classic story of abused going back to their abuser? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, I'm glad that he escaped and the dad's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry" at the end. But it's like, too little too late, dad. I almost felt like a little vacation at first because I wasn't like getting beaten by a fucking belt every day. Although we do find out that that's like one of the grabber thing. That's when the naughty boy part of the game comes into play, which I did find interesting. But like the inspiration behind the killer based on real life killers, he was based on Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's like a greatest hits album.
I mean, yeah, those are like some of the top guys. If you're going to take inspiration, they're all freaky. But I feel like John Wayne Gacy is probably the main inspiration behind the story, too, because he also used his belt on victims. He buried them under his house and he dressed as a clown and like did children's parties, right? The Ted Bundy thing is kind of like his little ruse that he gets to get them to his car where he pretends to drop stuff and needs their help. And that's what Ted Bundy would fucking always do is, "Oh, my arm's in a cast. Can you help me put this in my car?" And that's why you never help anybody. Anyways, and then Jeffrey Dahmer is the last one because like the scene when Finn escapes the house and he's running and then fucking Ethan Hawke recaptures him. That happened to one of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims. He was able to escape, but then he was recaptured, unfortunately. But still, pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely like whatever they mix all of that together, it's fucking terrifying. Like Ethan Hawke is the weirdest creep, like horrifying person I've ever seen. I did want to ask you this about him. He comes across like 100% that guy's a pedophile, right? That's the vibe he's putting out there.
The grabber?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They don't show it, and I don't know if it's implied. I was curious what you thought. It seems like he never actually does anything like that. He just kills them horribly. But I don't know. Maybe he kills them while molesting them. I'm not sure. I mean, this is like a dark topic, but I was curious what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they implied that he did, but I think in my head, just anything with children, usually there's, crimes against children, you're a pedophile. Maybe not to the truest extent, but if you're drawn to children, whether sexually or just, I only want to kill children, you're drawn to them.
I mean, yeah, they might just go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the vibe the most, I think, when he said,
I will never make you do anything that you won't like.
I do think in this scenario, my first move is to find something to kill myself with. I think that's what I'm doing the minute I wake up in this basement.
I was about to ask you. So obviously you can't kill yourself before you get taken, but when you wake up in the room, do you just take the top of the toilet and just bash your head in? Do you drown yourself in the toilet?
Oh, definitely not drowning myself in the toilet. Oh my God, no. I would try to find the most dignified way I could go out. I'd probably just like hang myself with whatever rope I have. And not that I know how to do that, so I'd probably like fuck it up. But I'd have to do it like at night or something when he was sleeping, because I feel like if he came down and found me killing myself, he'd be like very upset with me.
One thing does kind of come to mind that I liked a lot was like you have to play the game. There is like a level of like he gets satisfaction out of torturing people. Like that's a common kind of thing. Like they get satisfaction out of making people scared and putting them through all this stuff. And so like all of the kids, they were pissed because they made those mistakes. And so they played the game, whether accidentally or not. And so then he would beat them or do whatever to them because they would do what he wants. But he refused. And then that's what drove him crazy. But then also nothing actually happened to the kid. Like we didn't see the kid get beat or anything. The killer wants to play that cat and mouse game. So the killer didn't get that satisfaction. And it drove him crazy.
But honestly, if you're going to be kidnapped by a child murderer and you're a kid, best scenario possible that you're going to get guys who have experience and they've all tried this stuff. It's like you're getting 18 weeks of knowledge thrown at you, I would be so stressed with like the kid with the combination lock and he's like, I don't remember, because it's like just the numbers all listed together. It's like, what combination though? Like, is it 23317? Like
how do you do a combination lock? Do you turn it all the way around?
Well, this was set in the 70s, so like they were used to it. But yeah, it's like kids nowadays would be like, I'm sorry, what?
I like how, he doesn't play the game, so then it drives the killer insane. And so that's why he just gets more and more unhinged, because he's doing all of this for his own satisfaction. He's not getting that. And so now he's just becoming unhinged. It kind of reminds me of like the scene in Wolf Creek when he's torturing the girl and he's just scaring her just to get the reaction. He's getting that satisfaction from her being so terrified. If she just didn't do anything, he would get really pissed and then probably do worse things. So I like this where we don't see the killer getting his satisfaction and what that leads to.
I was really starting to like you, Finny. I almost let you go.
And that's what's great about the payoff at the end, is that he literally uses every single person's advice into defeating the killer. Even the meat in the freezer uses it to get past the dog. It's just chef's kiss, like just perfection. I always love it when a lot of little details come back at the end. He's kind of trying all of these as he goes, and they don't all work. None of them work. And that's why he keeps getting more advice and further along in the process. And then it's like, oh, the combination of everything together is what does it. And it's just perfect. I mean, it's just great writing and great filmmaking.
Yeah.
All around just perfection.
Was this an A24 movie? Seems like an A24 movie, but I don't think it is.
Universal Blumhouse.
Oh, yeah.
The little girl I want to shout out, I think Madeline McGraw is her name. She's amazing, and I could just watch footage of her swearing all day.
He could kick the shit out of either of you, dumb fucking fart knocker.
I love this girl. I'm obsessed with her. And she like hits that kid with a rock in the head and he's like bleeding so much. I was like, dude.
Yeah, this was a great movie. I hope Ethan Hawke and director and the writer, I hope they get together again, in less than 10 years, just do another horror movie, because so far they're awesome. I would much rather have more of this than another Doctor Strange. Let's have these. Multiverse of Madness was fun, but I agree with you. I'm glad this happened.
Me too. It sounds like they were going to wait for him no matter what, but I feel like I'm really glad that he was able to just give us this sooner, because I'm just here for it. It's like instantly I was like, okay, this is like a top tier horror movie, not just of the year, but in general.
It's awesome. Definitely A tier. And I'm also really glad that it's not A24, because I like a little competition. A24 can't be the only place putting out these like top-notch horror movies. And
it's also fun because I feel like no matter what in an A24 movie, it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be something weird in there. That's why A24 is supporting this. It's cool to see like fucking Universal and Blumhouse putting out a movie like this. I hope they triple the budget, do another movie, whatever you want. Great stuff.
100%. All right. Well, this was awesome.